Although some of the events in Netflix's portrayal of Dahmer can be difficult to digest, the majority of them were true. A lot of controversies have been generated by the new Netflix series based on the life and crimes of notorious serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, who murdered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. The gruesomeness of the show has been criticized by viewers of Monster, The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, and others have questioned how accurately it depicts actual events. Was Dahmer really so vicious? He claimed to be a cannibal. Do you know if he actually wore yellow contacts? We're going to examine some of the show's most intriguing and shocking moments and contrast them with the actual events they were based on. Anyone unfamiliar with Jeffrey Dahmer's true story may be astonished by how well the show depicts it. The cannibalism and fridge full of body parts. The decapitated head in the refrigerator, the organs and genitals in the freezer, and other gruesome discoveries in the episode may seem a little like something out of a horror movie to viewers, and they wouldn't be mistaken. All of those events really did occur, and since then, numerous horror films have been based on the truth of Dahmer's murders. Real-life cops discovered a photo album full of severed bodies in parts when they searched Dahmer's flat. In addition, they found signs that Dahmer had been consuming the body parts, bleached skulls, and several heads in the freezer and refrigerator, barrels of hydrochloric acid, and several heads that had been frozen. After his incarceration, Dahmer himself acknowledged cannibalism in an interview. He stated, "I was branching out. That's where the cannibalism started, eating of the heart and the arm muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were part of me." Tracy, the man who escaped Dahmer. We gained some understanding of Dahmer's technique for selecting victims in the very first episode of the series. He would get very inebriated, go to nearby homosexual clubs, and then ask someone over to his place, generally under the influence of alcohol and money. Tracy Edwards, an openly gay African-American guy, is the last person chronologically to enter Dahmer's flat, but the first one we witness. Tracy, who was recognized as a hero for fleeing Dahmer's grasp, reporting him to the authorities, and assisting in his apprehension, was a real person. It's interesting to note that Edwards claimed during Dahmer's trial that once in his flat, Dahmer changed how he looked and acted. Edwards remarked that his face structure seemed changed. It no longer seemed to be him. Dahmer's first kill. The first victim in the series, hitchhiker Stephen Hicks, is killed by Dahmer in episode 3. Dahmer entices Hicks to hang out with him at his parents' house where they drink and smoke some pot before offering to drop Hicks off at a performance. When Hicks rejects Dahmer's attempt to kiss him and turns away, the murderer strikes him with a barbell before strangling him to death. After dismembering the body and dissolving it in acid, he smashes the bones with a hammer before scattering the remains around his parents' property. Although Dahmer later claimed that the killing was an accident, the broad strokes of what caused Dahmer to kill Hicks are all true. It is also unknown whether Dahmer actually tried to kiss Hicks. However, the show omitted the fact that Dahmer really buried the body in the backyard for a few weeks after dismembering it, before unearthing it once more and dissolving it. Police returning the boy to Dahmer. Konarak Synthesomphone, a 14-year-old character in the show, escapes Dahmer's flat while being deeply sedated. Konarak is discovered by 3 women in the street, speechless and confused, and they dial 911. When the police arrive, Dahmer runs into them while returning from the liquor store, persuades them that the child is of legal age and is his boyfriend, and is then given permission to take the boy back to his apartment where he will later kill and dismember him. Tragically, this is exactly accurate, and the 2 officers' handling of the matter caused a significant public backlash. John Balserzak and Joseph Gabrish, the cops in question, were ultimately placed on administrative leave and discharged from the police department for their carelessness. In the show, the recklessness of the police officers was, if anything, downplayed. In actuality, the officers made gay jokes, ignored the ambulance crew who wanted to check on Konarak, and missed Dahmer's identification. They would have learned that Dahmer had been charged with child molestation in 1988 for molesting Konarak's brother, who was 13 at the time, if they had been able to identify him, which is also referenced in the show. Doing a Dahmer. We get a glimpse of Dahmer's high school life in episode 3. Suffice it to say that it was strange. A few times, a gang of jocks asked Dahmer to perform an impression of the decorator, but every time, Dahmer has a hand cramp and gives the most annoying disabled impression ever. This is entirely true. Dahmer had a reputation for acting up and doing a Dahmer to grab attention at school. The impressions came from a cerebral palsy interior decorator who worked on Dahmer's parents' home for a period. A social outcast, peers claimed that Dahmer frequently played the class clown to gain attention. The 2017 movie, My Friend Dahmer, based on a graphic novel written by John Backderf, who knew Dahmer personally in high school and even participated in some of his acting up, goes into further insight about this entire period of Dahmer's life. The yellow eyes. The face-on photo of Dahmer looking at the camera with demonish yellow eyes in the Netflix advertising for the program delivers a powerful first impression. However, this isn't just for show. In episode 2 of the series, we learn that Dahmer actually enjoys donning yellow contact lenses. It is implied in the episode that he wears them because he enjoys watching movies and thinks Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars Return of the Jedi looks good in them. Dahmer's attorney claimed that the killer enjoyed donning yellow contacts to resemble Satan-like characters, like the Emperor and the monster from The Exorcist 3. The Satanic Bible in Dahmer's apartment. There are numerous warning signs when Tracy Edwards visits Dahmer's apartment for the first time. A foul smell, dead fish in the aquarium, a drill by the door, as well as a Satanic Bible. The latter led on-screen spectators to speculate if Dahmer was some sort of Satanist. In reality, there is no association between Dahmer and Satanism. Dahmer's actions undoubtedly had an occult component because he wanted to create an altar out of the bones of his victims in his flat, but it was never explicitly stated that this was because of Satanism. It's possible that the Satanic Bible was merely an embellishment for the television program, partially motivated by Dahmer's lawyer's assertion that the defendant identified with Palpatine and the Exorcist monster because of their satanic traits. Heroic neighbor, Glenda Cleveland. Glenda Cleveland, Dahmer's neighbor in the drama, had long harbored strong misgivings about him. She is shown as being horrifyingly close to all of the crimes occurring, from the scents coming from his flat to the noises of drilling she would hear through the walls. In reality, Cleveland did not live next to Dahmer at the Oxford Apartments, but rather nearby. She met him for the first time when her daughter and niece discovered Konarak on the sidewalk, who the police eventually returned to Dahmer. She then called the police again to inquire about the boy's age and the reason he was given back to Dahmer after being deeply upset by what she had seen. The police's disregard for her worries during their real meeting with her is perhaps one of the most upsetting aspects of the show. It is seen at the end of episode 2. A few days later, Cleveland reportedly phoned the police once more after seeing a picture of Konarak listed as a lost person in a newspaper, according to the Milwaukee Journal. She never heard back from anyone. Even the FBI was contacted, but no one responded. The meat sandwich. In the program, Glenda's neighbor Dahmer is shown offering her a meat sandwich. She declines the sandwich and inquires as to what's inside, to which he responds, like pulled pork. She is already quite wary of Dahmer. Never accept a sandwich from someone when the meat inside is like meat that you know. A woman by the name of Pamela Bass lived next door to Dahmer in real life, and she, like most of his neighbors, didn't seem suspicious of the serial murderer, which would imply that the odor emanating from his apartment didn't permeate to their homes as it did in the episode. In actuality, Bass claimed that Dahmer was courteous and frequently made sandwiches for his neighbors. Uncomfortably, Bass said in the 2013 documentary, The Jeffrey Dahmer Files, that Dahmer had actually offered her a sandwich, but unlike Glenda in the show, she had accepted and eaten it. Bass said, "I have probably eaten someone's body part," without commenting on the flavor.